don't know if you're ready or not, Senator Capito. And Senator Rosen's been on the screen for some time, but I know Senator Peters, you were next. Would you be willing maybe to defer to Senator Rosen?
I would be happy to defer to Senator Rosen.
Okay, Senator Rosen.
Thank you so much, Senator Peters, and thank you, Chair Cantwell. I really appreciate that, and really appreciate you holding this important hearing on supporting airports and airlines against cyber attacks like the ones that took place in Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. You know, travel and tourism, I don't have to tell anyone, they are the backbone of Nevada's economy. Our airports are the gateway to everything we have to offer in Nevada, so we have to do everything in our power to protect them, along with heliports, air traffic control systems, and aircrafts. Together, this really is critical infrastructure. And this critical infrastructure faces complex and ever-changing cybersecurity threats and challenges that we must work together to address and mitigate. And so, Mr. Little, I would talk a little bit about network segmentation, because in the wake of the cyber attack on your airport, you said tools ranging and networks ranging from employee email to passenger information systems and public Wi-Fi all became unavailable. So one of the first actions taken in response by the Port of Seattle was to isolate critical systems. However, basic cyber hygiene recommends that networks should already be segmented in a way that separates critical services, including the separation of public and internal systems. And so, Mr. Little, I know Senator Welch talked about this a little bit, but in what ways were critical systems at the airport connected to public systems? So you have critical systems. Were they connected to external websites? Were they connected to public Wi-Fi, whereby ransomware could really gain access to them and impact all of these systems at once? Are they segmented in such a way?
Yes, thanks for the question, Senator. One of the reasons why we were able to recover so quickly or to have some of our services not interrupted is actually because we have segmentation. So, for example, our access control system was on a totally segmented network. Our conveyor systems were on a totally different network. So the network that was actually impacted, again, was segmented. That's something that we have been doing for years, and one of the lessons learned is we'll actually do more segmentation. But there are several systems at the airport that was not impacted because of segmentation.
Well, fantastic. I want to build on that with General Reynolds, because we have airline networks. We know they interact with airport systems, airlines and airports. That's how you update a lot of information, right? So how vulnerable is this interoperability between the airlines and the airport systems in the event of a cyber attack? How do you segment or mitigate this threat as airlines and airports talk to each other? Of course, in this case, we'll just use this for an example: getting your bags.
Senator, thank you for the question. As I stated up front, our programs are mature programs. They're risk-based, threat-informed, which means we follow standard practices. For example, the cybersecurity framework that NIST puts out is one of the foundational principles that we follow, the standards that we follow. One of the things you do in those circumstances that you identify your systems and then prioritize those that are critical, less critical, and in that identification, you look for those connections you're talking about. And in those connections, you're then looking to see what controls can I put around those areas to minimize the risk that you may have when you connect systems to one another.
That's great, because I want to bring up something really important while you talk about connecting systems to mitigate risk, because we have third-party vendor cybersecurity issues potentially. Last month, cybersecurity researchers found vulnerabilities in a tool that supports the Known Crew Member program, which allows pilots and crew members to pass through TSA without screening. So General Reynolds, to provide guidance to member airlines to ensure that they're doing their due cyber diligence with vendors. This intersects with airlines. It intersects with our security, our personal security, our homeland security. And would it be better to have all the airport crew, maybe they have their own lane, but they use the same kinds of identification that we use every day when we go through TSA?
Senator, thanks for that question. It's a good question. I will say my expertise is not known crew member program. That's not where my expertise is at.
Mm-hmm.
I will say we're happy to take your question back to those that are the program leads and try to get you better information.
Thank you. I sure appreciate that. And Senator Cantwell, thank you again, Senator Peters. Yield back.
Well, thank you, Senator Rosen. It takes a Cobot programmer to ask some really tough questions here for witnesses, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
I think it's important, right, these issues on interoperabilities and vulnerabilities, because I think that's what we're really talking about today. The most